And welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. I am your host, Officer Antoine Thomas. Yep, that's me. Look, I want to say happy belated um, birthday to anybody out there of last year. Merry belated Christmas and a happy new year to all. That's how long I've been gone. Look, I'm back, and this is now 2024, and we ended 2023 with a bang, and we are on season six. Last episode, if you had not had the opportunity to dwell in, dive in, and listen to, parents, are you raising your kids to be good, productive citizens? Brought my brother on, my friend, special guest, Johnny Calloway, who is a father of, I believe, 7 or 8 children at this time, married, doing awesome things in the ministry of fatherhood. You have to go back and watch the episode. It's beautiful, it's uplifting, it's power packed. It's centered around our fathers and with a special interest on our black fathers. Um, or must we say the lack thereof of that? We have to get back to that. Talked about very brief. I'm very grateful to have grown up in a two-parent household and with instilled values. Mom and dad are still together after 40 years, and I believe in my heart, I know in my heart that if my dad wasn't around to have that father figure to show me how to be a man, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Thanks to God, my father, and my mother. But I want to say, you please, please, please go back and watch that episode. But I wanted to do something different. Wanted to come back and, as I say, stand alone here in this fight for a moment. Have a lot of great guests that are getting ready to come on the show as we are in campaign season. I have guests all over North Carolina that's looking to come on this show right here in North Carolina to talk about their candidacy. And I want to give them an opportunity because these are personal friends to be able to share their platform for all the constituents here in North Carolina. You're going to have people running from U.S. Congress all the way to North Carolina House of Rep, all the way for Lieutenant Governor. Okay, I want to bring those different brothers on the show and let them give you an insight a little bit further on what their campaign platform is and what beliefs they stand on. Until then, I want to talk about something that's very important. I've done a lot of research. I would even say extensive research. Still continue to do research because I want to make this more like a part one and two. At this time, I'll focus on the meat and potatoes of it really quick. We're going to be talking about something that's very important. We all are aware of the Target brand big box stores. We're aware of that. We are aware that in 2024, they have become what we call really woke. Started back, I would say, the really height of that moment where they went woke as it pertains to, again, listen to me on this one, centered around law enforcement, was 2020 at the height of George Floyd rallies. I was sitting on my couch one day and an article came by the way of IGR, Independent Journal Report, and it talked about how Target was closing I believe about, well, at that time it was three big box stores, one in New York, California, and I forgot the other. And that sparked my interest to say these things. Target, you became woke, of course. You're going to have stores closing. Why were these stores closing? Since then, they've added more to the list. It's due to the high theft and the crimes that are being committed at Target due to lack of policing, due to lack of interest in policing, due to the wokeism that they have created. People are coming into those stores, and you saw that if you watched some of the George Floyd riots right there in Minneapolis. Okay, we're going to be talking about that because it's very important that we tell you about what happened in Minnesota as it pertains to Target, and they have lost a lot of revenue. So Target said at this point we're forced to close our doors. We can no longer sustain the amount of thefts that we are taking in. And as we all know, that ultimately hurts the community there where those stores are located. And we also know the people that are committing these heinous crimes are people that do not actually frequent or shop or even live in the communities where these targets are located. But this has been done because Target has said that police are no longer needed. So during the height of that, it sparked my interest when I saw that article to find out how long Target has been woke. And you're going to be surprised today on what I found out. Today's show is titled Target has not always defunded the police. Had another title before this that said Target, you have turned your back on the police. And if I would add that in there as well. Now, as we know that Target has become a corporation who believes in the defunding of the police, and we know that they're pushed this by giving money to woke organizations, that being LGBTQ, those being transgenderism, that being um, we're going to call it civil justice, if you want to call that. But of course, BLM, Black Lives Matter Incorporated movement, even Antifa have seen an uptick in financial donations. Target is still blindly doing these things because they jumped on the defund the police bandwagon back in 2020, again after the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin situation. Won't dive into that, but we all know that allegedly Officer Derek Chauvin, Minneapolis police officer, allegedly killed George Floyd by leaning on his neck. Some said five, some said six, some said 7 minutes. It's out there for the taking. Now, I'm not going to center this show around it, but I know the truth. Many of you do know the truth. But I will say that sparked a heavy interest in the fund the police movement because at the end of the day, we are all wicked. If you see my hat, I'm blending in, I'm moving in. Police. We all know that this show is centered around police. And if you are a watcher, a follower, a fan of the Real Talk podcast with Officer Antoine Thomas, you already know what I'm about to say. We would never defund the police, but we will defend the police. We'll talk about the good and the bad of policing. We'll call out the ones who have done it wrong, police officers, and we will praise the ones who have and continue to do it right. That's what this show is about. So I say this, we will never defund the police. Of course, Target has started their petition, their campaign many years ago. Now we're looking at 4 years later to fund the police movement. But Target has not always defunded the police, and I want to share some interesting facts with you that I've done some research on, looked it up, verified it's true. Now, did you know that the big name retail store Target, originally I told you 3 stores, but since then they decided to shut down 9 of its store locations nationwide due to the influx, like I told you, of high thefts. Okay, apparently Target can no longer maintain these tremendous profit losses, which is what I told you earlier in the introduction. But wait, I got some interesting facts. Who does this ultimately affect? And I said that earlier. It affects the community, which the people there shop and support and buy their goods, their products from these stores. Doesn't take a rocket science to even figure it out because that is evident. But one of the biggest, I should say, groups that this situation by these stores closing affects, guess who? It's not even the consumers. It is the employees. Those are the ones who are affected. And yes, typically when a store closes down, they try to find a store nearby, close by, to reallocate or move these folks, employees, into so that they can keep their income rolling in. I get that. I've seen that happen before. But we have to remember that at the end of the day, taxpayers are fitting the bill on this too, because what happens is the more theft that you see at different stores or locations, wherever it may be, it affects the consumer by prices having to be become raised to be able to keep their profit margins low and to keep the insurance that these corporations pay. Because every corporation, you must understand this, Walmart, Target, used to be Kmart's, Marshalls, we'll say all these stores, they allocate within their budget a profit loss. They already know that there's going to be loss, whether that's due to the faulty merchandise, broken merchandise, returnable merchandise. But the biggest part of that is theft. What they're losing due to people not paying for a good that they picked up. So ultimately, the consumer takes the bid on that, and we suffer because the prices have to be raised, taxes have to go up to be able to, again, uh, meet that quota, but also meet the balance there. Now, Target closes select stores to prioritize what they call team member and the guest safety due to the high crimes. You've seen this in California, you've seen this in New York. You know that at the end of the day, these people are running in, I should say, young black people. There are some white, there are some Hispanic, majority of young black people running, and it's not something I'm making up. You can see it, go watch the videos. They're running into these stores, not just big box stores, mom and pop stores. Back at the height of all this, they call it smash and grab. They were doing a jewelry heist. They were going into even boutique shops. They were going into beauty salons, or I should say stores, whatever they could get their hands on. Tennis shoe stores. It did not matter. Clothing stores to wreak havoc, to smash and grab, to take what they did not purchase. And in the world of law enforcement, we call that theft. Okay? Call that larceny, the taking of someone else's property to deprive them of the use of it permanently without the consent of that owner or original possessor. That's something that I've already know. Okay. Now, explanation. This is the explanation that Target gave. At Target, we take the decision to close these stores very seriously and only do so after taking meaningful steps to invest in, watch this, the guest experience and improve business performance. Okay. With that said, we have made the difficult decision to close 9 Target stores across 4 states effective October 21st, 2023. In this case, we cannot continue operating these stores because of theft and organized retail crime and threatening to the safety of our team members, our guests, and also contributing to the unsustainable business performance, which is what I talked about, the decrease in sales, the increase in theft profit margins. Okay. And when you look at it, there is no profit when you are having people commit theft. It's unsustainable that these are Target executive words. Executive, not my words. We know that our stores serve an important role in their communities, but we can only be successful if the working and shopping environment is for all. Before making this decision, we invested heavily in strategies to prevent and to stop theft and organized retail crime in our stores, such as adding more security members, using third-party guard services, implementing theft deterrent tools across our business. Despite our efforts, unfortunately, we will continue to face fundamental challenges to operating these stores safely and successfully. Now, if you noticed, Target never mentioned that they tried to do the most logical thing. Okay. Some may ask what that is. And that is to hire off duty police officers around the stores around the country to provide security, to combat, to deter, to stop the thefts that are taking place. And as they called it, the organized retail crime. They only went as far as hiring armed guards, okay, security guards, which only have so much power. They do not have the authority to arrest unless they are a private police department that is acting on behalf of that particular store. Their jurisdiction does not exceed that store. Once they go into bylaws and MOUs, memorandum of understanding, and policies that says these police officers do have the power to arrest and effect an arrest only on our property, then that can go forth. Most times you see that it's just a security company who has no powers to arrest, no powers to lay hands on anyone, say per se. But I'm sure that Target does not want anyone arrested. Not in 2024, not in 2023. Why? Because they said we're going to help to fund the police. We all know what happened to the Minneapolis Police Department after it was dismantled. A lot of the officers quit, retired. Some were fired. We saw the effects. Crime didn't go down. Crime went up. It's obvious. There's nothing mathematical about it, nothing that is scientific about it. It's that simple. When you reduce the police departments, when you reduce the manpower in the areas where they're needed most, little baby can figure this out. Crime's going to increase. Now, I want to digress. So, I'm sure you want to know which stores were closed down. Well, I do have the answer for you. New York City Market, Harlem, predominantly black city, closed its doors. Seattle Market, liberal city in Washington. Seattle University Way closed. Seattle and Ballard closed. Okay. San Francisco, could you imagine? And Oakland. San Francisco, Folsom and 13th Street closed down. Oakland Broadway and 27th closed down. Pittsburgh off of 4301 4301 Century Boulevard closed down. Are you surprised that Portland, Oregon had a store closed down? I know you are. Actually, three of them. Portland Galleria closed, Portland Powell closed, and Portland Hollywood closed its doors. Again, this is all due to the increase in high level of retail crime. These are not my words again. These are Target words. And the high theft of larcenies and crime committed as it pertains to merchandise. Now, keep in mind, we're not talking about a physical crime against a person. We're talking about merchandise. We're talking about retail crime. We're talking about property losses, not personal injuries. Okay, I want to make sure I cleared it up and make sure everybody is on the same page. If you recall, recently I did a short series on an episode, or I should say, episode that was entitled "Crime is Out of Control. What are we going to do about it?" This was way before I even started researching Target. Talked about it. Go back and watch it. Before parents, we have a duty, and before we even launch the episode, parents, are you raising up your children to be good citizens? Go back. Before that show was Crime is Out of Control. I think I did like a 3 or 4 part series on that. Brought some guests on to talk about it. My last guest was Carlos Perry. We talked about crime. Okay, out of control. What are we doing? That's part of that makeup right there. Now, I spoke on these same issues of people committing larcenies, walking into stores, taking merchandise. We talked about that without paying for it. We even talked about not having a care in the world on who they are affecting, the criminals I'm talking about. Now, you have to look and you have to ask yourself why Target is becoming a victim of this ridiculous crime. Why? The answer is in the pudding. You don't have to have much to understand this or even have much knowledge to understand it. It's extremely easy to understand. Target has decided, like I stated back in 2020, that they were going to join the bandwagon. They were going to join the movement of defund the police as a result of the, again, Officer Derek Chauvin and George Floyd incident, which, again, allegedly Officer Chauvin killed Floyd, okay, by laying a knee on his neck and resting it there for a short period of time that ultimately allegedly killed the man. Now, there's a saying on the conservative side of things, which I am, it says this: when you go woke, you go broke. And this is a true saying. This is a testament to Target. This is what's going on. I didn't say they went bankrupt, but they are losing money day after day. Now, you better believe, or I'll put it this way, you best believe that those only 9 stores are not the only stores that have been affected by the organized retail theft of crime and just thefts in general. Stores all across this country are taking the brunt of this, but Target is at the center of it. I'm going to take a sip. Give me one moment. And we have to talk about it because it is very important that we leave no stones unturned. Now, I'm moving very rapidly because I want to keep this show at 30 minutes, okay? And I'll come back and give you a part 2 of it. But when I found out that Target was closing 3 of its stores originally, which again led me on this heist, which led me on this hunt, which led me on this canvas, which led me on this research ring to understand why in depth, because I knew a little bit why. It could only be obvious why they were closing doors. I merely said out loud, Target, that's actually a good thing for you. You know what? You deserve it. You took a stance that was very popular, took a stance that you should have stayed out of. You took a stance that said, I'm against my local police officers. And when you go woke, you have to go broke. That should have been my title. As a matter of fact, I'm changing the title right here as we speak. Why? Because this is my show. This show is entitled now, When You Go Woke, You Go Broke. Man, I love doing this stuff. It's fun. They deserve it. Now, next, I want to know, how long did Target feel this way? How long did Target has this have this defund the movement personality or biases in their stores, in their policies against the police? Had to ask myself that. I was very shocked on the evidence and the information that I found through this because, again, as I stated in the opening of this show today, that Target has not always been woke. Target has not always been against the police. Okay, they were for the police at one point. Now, I don't have much time because I don't want to dive into the second half of this too much. But what I want to say as time is decreasing, because I want to keep this on the even playing field so that the next episode I can lead right into part two of this. When you go woke, you go broke. Now, I do want to start off by talking about how generous Target was before 2020 as it pertains to giving to charitable donations, as it pertains to the police, giving large donations to actual police departments when big cities where crime was running rampant. Okay. In an effort to not only help and expand the safety of these programs that these police departments had started doing, Target was throwing heavy money at these major cities. Okay. To decrease crime, to uplift the partnerships with police and community. Now, I bet you have never heard of this. You have never heard of this. Now, this is something that Target started. It was called Target Safe City Program, or better yet, Safe Zone Program. Now, the executives, of course, hired a person who could be that bridge builder between community again and police, and they came up with a program again called Safe Zones, or AKA Target Safe City Program. Now, both programs were actually launched in a way to help, again, fund police departments who were actively deterring to try to decrease the crime in communities, okay, that was deserving of it, in impoverished areas, target located, and they actually targeted in, no pun intended, on police departments and cities that needed this support, okay. That is what launched the Safe Zone movement. Now, I want to first really quick explore what Target Safe City Programs is all about, and then I'll stop here. I got 7 minutes. Target Safe City Programs was a community that was leading the initiative in building partnership again within the police department. I know you already probably dropping your mouth at this point saying, "Oh my gosh, I thought Target has always been woke. I thought they always supported all these different um, acronyms and always supported these different leftist movements." That has not always been the case. Now, the Police Executive Research Forum, aka known as PERF, found that a safe city is a program which was launched back with the Target Corporation back in 2003 in Minneapolis. And I'm going to dive into that. You have to understand the significance around Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the police department on how all this even started. It goes bigger than George Floyd, but I'm going to bring it all home to you. And maybe the folks that said it wasn't a conspiracy. Now, get this. Let me pause for a minute. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've never really been on the QAnon level or bandwagon, but I will say, after doing extensive research, after understanding, after watching the riots take place in Minneapolis when George Floyd was pronounced dead, Of course, we learned months later, okay, that even happened. This was not even the case until someone in media got a hold of it, expanded it, and then it blew up. But I want to say this, that there is a very much connection of the dots as it pertains to the George Floyd incident with BLM coming in and terrorizing Antifa coming in, terrorizing George Floyd, George Soros sending in money to terrorize. And then the police department there is a significant deal. And then in the middle, you have Target. And I'm going to talk about that. It's a three-pronged deal. I'll dive in more to that later. But in 2003, Minneapolis started this program. They wanted to foster, again, the relationships between the police and the community members to help reduce crime in these low poverty areas. At one point in time, Target and local partners had started Save City projects in more than 20 cities, okay, across America. So it wasn't just Minneapolis; it was 19 other cities across America. Again, when this was launched in 2023. Now, each Safe City program is developed by local officials. No two programs, according to the police research forum, was exactly alike under the Target Corporation brand. Okay. Some Safe City programs have emphasized the introduction of closed circuit television, and we call it in law enforcement CCTV camera networks, other technologies. Other ones were focused on methods and new methods of information through the computerized, through whether it was cameras, through GPS, whatever it may have been, to create this atmosphere of information sharing through technology again between the police and communities. Okay, in some cities, the Safe City program had focused on the downtown business areas of the districts around the country and cities where the crimes were high, and areas where, of course, they had ball fields and different restaurants and things like that. Stores had seen an uptick in crime. They wanted to help reduce violence in those areas as well. So now we're going to talk about the violence portion of it. That was a part of the Safe City program, okay, and also in the residential areas. The programs are at different levels. Some are quite advanced, okay, while others are just starting off. Again, back in that time, and others are hard at work within progress of regrouping, revamping, and starting this initiative, okay? Now, what I want to do really quick as I end. Now, keep in mind that Minneapolis is where the Target's headquarters are located as well. Bet you didn't know that. So, as you see, there's a three prong. You have the Target store itself, or I should say the George Floyd incident itself. You have Target, and then you also have the retail crime. Why are the people targeting the stores of and again, no pun intended, Target box brand stores? Why are the criminals targeted Target? Because at the end of the day, you got to understand this: Target helped fuel and give a lot of money to Minneapolis Police Department. Some of you, I can see your head spinning. Yes, it is coming together. I will. So back before I became a police officer, I was in culinary arts, and I had the mindset, the wherewith, and ability, thanks to be God, to take something that's small, make it big, as it pertains to a recipe, and concoct something that is delicious. And that's actually what I'm doing now in the world of policing, in the world of podcasting. I'm mixing. I am getting ready to again put it in the pot and then boil it and then give you a product. That's what we're doing. Three prongs to this. Because when you go woke, you go broke. Got 1 minute. I want to say yes. All the Target stores are located, the headquarters, excuse me, in Minneapolis, okay, Minnesota. Now you can recall the riots took place where in Minneapolis, and where did the height of that Target that was burned, that was um, targeted? They had the Antifa, Black Lives Matter went in there, destroyed it. They had to rebuild it from scratch. It's all coming together. But I want to stop here, okay, because I want to dive next into some things in the next episode to discuss the Minneapolis Police Department itself and how that bridge was connected. So I want to say this as I get ready to end. When you go woke, you go broke. We're talking about Target, okay? Keep in mind, as always, that we will never defend the police. We're always, excuse me, we never defund the police. We're always defend the police. and we're getting ready to get out of here. You have been listening to Real Talk. I am your host, Officer Antoine Thomas.